Namaskar, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. There is one question that people don't talk about, and that's the question of the Sir Creek. And let me just say this: when I mention this, a lot of people might not even know, "Yari, kya baat kar raha hai? What is he talking about?" Well, we will talk about something, and we will talk about a very, very important area between India and Pakistan, जिसके बारे में people have not spoken about at all. There has been a lot of history, lot of you know bad blood, good blood, this, that, whole lot of things. A lot of people have worked on the ground. And I have two such gentlemen with me who've actually done some work on this Sir Creek area. I have with me Captain Sudhir Kandari. You guys have seen him on the channel before. He's obviously a sailor and a man with a lot of knowledge about the sea. I must say his passion about the sea really, really talks. And, I have someone, again, from the Indian Navy, Vice Admiral Aadi Arora, whose obviously passion is going to be the sea. So we're going to talk about the entire region, the history. Why is this place important? It's just a small speck of area. And how we almost lost it. So we will talk about that. Gentlemen, sir, thank you so much for coming in, sir. This is going to be one hell of a learning exercise for all of us on the channel. So thank you so much for agreeing to doing this.
Thank you so much for having us, Aadi, and nice to be on this channel for the first time. And to talk about Sir Creek, which has been very close to all our hearts, especially the hydrographers.
So let's start, sir. Captain, sir, why don't I start with you, sir? I'll put out a map while you describe this area. I'll put out the location so that people are more aware of it. But what is this, sir? Why is there a dispute in this area? What is the game? Why does Pakistan want it? And what is the politic behind it?
See, historically, if we go back, we'll talk in Hindi for the convenience of your viewers also.
And
और कुछ चीजें ऐसी हैं कि उसको इंग्लिश टर्म्स यूज करना पड़ेगा बिकॉज वो जो इंटरनेशनल लॉ वगैरह में आ जाता है तो उसी में बात करना पड़ता है। फिर हिस्टोरिकली देखें तो यार पहले समझना पड़ेगा कि ये इंटरनेशनल लॉ, कन्वेंशन, ट्रीटीज वगैरह क्या है। जब ये सर क्रीक का लाइन ड्रॉ हुआ था तो दैट वाज द कॉलोनियल एम्पायर, अपना ब्रिटिशर्स, तो एक रेजोल्यूशन उन्होंने बना दिया लेकर। अभी जब आप रेजोल्यूशन बनाते हो मॉडर्न डे में, आज की डेट में, तो इट इज बिटवीन द डिफरेंट पार्टीज। तो पहले तो रेजोल्यूशन जो है एक्सेप्ट होना चाहिए, उसके बाद अडॉप्ट होगा, फिर वो इनफोर्स आएगा। अभी ये लोग बात करते हैं कुछ रेजोल्यूशन की बिटवीन बॉम्बे प्रेसिडेंसी एंड द प्रिंसली स्टेट ऑफ रन ऑफ कच्छ, which was way back in, if I'm not wrong, 1914 or 1917, 18, something like that. वो रेजोल्यूशन क्या था, मतलब कि that has no legal ground, और वो उसको लेके बोलते हैं कि the line should be eastward if you look at the map. अभी अपना वाइस एडमिरल अरोड़ा साहब जो है, मतलब he was a chief hydrographer and who had been like we, after the data is surveyed, everything goes to the hydrographic office, and he had been a person in the field with years of experience of surveying, and later on the chief hydrographer to the government of India. He will also agree with me कि वो resolution क्या है, मतलब कि it doesn't stand any legal value. अभी ये it's not like this यार कि ये वक्त की प्रॉपर्टी है, मैंने हाथ रख दिया, ये एरिया मेरा हो जाएगा। It is something like वो चाइना कोई लाइन ड्रॉ करता रहता है, कोई कुछ करता रहता है। पहली बात तो ये है कि लोगों को एक बात समझ नहीं आती कि जब हम स्केल ऑफ द चार्ट बोलते हैं, डिपेंडिंग ऑन द स्केल ऑफ चार्ट 1 millimeter may be showing 50 meters or 3,500 meters for that matter. That's a separate issue. बात कर रहे हैं इसकी, जब हम ट्रीटी की बात करते हैं, कोई ट्रीटी नहीं थी इंडिया और पाकिस्तान के बीच में, कोई ऐसा यूएन कन्वेंशन नहीं है। अगर यूएन कन्वेंशन की बात करते हैं हम लोग अपना अनक्लॉज की, तो उसमें दो ही चीजें आती हैं, इधर द मीडियन लाइन, इफ द चैनल इज नॉट नेविगेबल, इफ द चैनल इज नेविगेबल तो हम बोलते हैं थॉलवेक प्रिंसिपल आ जाता है, जिसमें बोथ साइड शुड बी एबल टू यूज दैट। अब कोई आर्ग्यूमेंट लगा लो, ये इनलैंड वाटरवे भी नहीं बनता है बिकॉज इट इज डिस्प्यूटेड एंड इट इज नॉट कनेक्टिंग एनी ऑफ द अदर पार्ट्स ऑफ द इनलैंड। सो Pakistan, as Vice Arora, I was talking to him, he said, yaar, they keep changing the goalpost here for any argument. Ab koi bhi law le lo, they have no right over it, as simple as that. What we are claiming, our line is the right line. That's from my side to start with.
Thank you for that, sir. क्योंकि आपने एक baseline दी है where you basically brought out the, a base sort of a structure with the region there. Admiral sir, I'll come to you. You've been on the ground there. You've seen this. What is the exact problem? What is Pakistan wanting out of this place? चाहिए क्या है इसको वहां पर? और क्यों?
Aadi, firstly, what Captain Khandari said, he's brought it in a very, very nice overview. But we need to go back to the background, how it all started. कहते हैं ना, किसी भी मुद्दे का हुआ कैसे, चालू कैसे हुआ था. That is what is very, very important. Go back to the genesis. Only then we'll be able to get an overview as to what is happening. So if we go back to the genesis, it all started in that area. जहाँ लकड़ी के कुछ हिस्से उससे पड़े हुए थे और किसी ने जो कच्छ की स्टेट के उसने वहां से उठा लिए, जो सिंध की एरिया में थे. सिंध ने बोला कि भैया आपने हमारे यहाँ से लकड़ी क्यों उठाई? ऑब्वियसली अगर लकड़ी उठाई है तो बेचने के लिए उठाई होगी. तो उसने बोला हाँ, अगर ये किस्सा बेचने का अगर आ रहा है तो उससे सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज आती है कि ये किस एरिया से उठाया गया था. तो मुद्दा अगर किस एरिया से उठाया गया था, इसका मतलब टेरिटरी किसकी है. ये क्या सिंध की टेरिटरी है या ये कच्छ की टेरिटरी है? तो कहानी वहां से चालू होती. इमेजिन इस छोटे से एक लकड़ी के या एक लकड़ी से कहानी चालू होती. सो जब सिंध का कमिश्नर जो उस वक्त ब्रिटिश रूल में थे और ये महाराजा कच्छ जो थे, उनमें जब बातचीत हुई, वार्तालाप हुई, तो they came to a consensus that yes, I think we need to have some sort of demarcation or a boundary. और उस वक्त कच्छ ने काफी अपने रिकॉर्ड्स प्रोड्यूस करे थे, जिसने बताया कि भैया ये इलाका हमारे अंदर आता है, हमने टैक्सेस दिए हैं, हमने पैसे दिए हैं, हमने सड़क बनवाई है, हमने काफी चीज की है इसके लिए, तो हमारे पास रिकॉर्ड्स हैं. तो देन इन what Captain Khandari also mentioned, 1914 में the government of India, after taking inputs from Sindh as well as from Kutch through the government of Bombay, came out with this resolution कि भैया ये जो सर्करिक एरिया है उस पे जो आपका एक्सटेंट है वो हम सर्करिक के वेस्ट बैंक से एक रादर ईस्ट बैंक से हम एक लाइन बना देते हैं. उस वक्त जब चार्ट्स या मैप्स में लाइन बनाती थी तो उसका डिमार्केशन बड़ा क्लियरली होता था. आप किसी नदी के अंदर से तो बना नहीं सकते लाइन. तो एक वो ब्लू जो ग्रीन रिबन उन्होंने बनाया वो बैंक में बनाया, क्योंकि वो कम से कम 3 या 4 मिलीमीटर थिक होता है रिप्रेजेंटेशन. अभी भी आप पुराने चार्ट देखो या पुराने मैप्स देखो, रिप्रेजेंटेशन वैसे ही है, थिक होता है क्योंकि इट इज इजीली एविडेंट टू द आई. फिर वो कहानी आई कि अगर ये ग्रीन लाइन हमने बना दी है उस मैप में, वो कहाँ से चालू हुई? उन्होंने बोला कि टॉप ऑफ द सर्करिक. अब ये टॉप ऑफ द सर्करिक कहाँ था? टॉप ऑफ द सर्करिक 80-90 किलोमीटर ऊपर था, क्योंकि पानी वहां तक जाता था. अगर आप क्रीक बोल रहे हैं तो वहां तक पानी जाता था. वहां एक ब्लू डॉटेड लाइन भी उन्होंने बोला कि यहाँ से एक ब्लू डॉटेड लाइन ईस्ट की तरफ जाएगी और वो कच्छ और सिंध के बीच की बाउंड्री रहेगी. अब क्योंकि नदी का उन्होंने ग्रीन बैंड लगा दिया था, तो फिर चीज आई कि इसके अंदर जो पानी है उसका क्या, इज इट नेविगेबल और नॉट नेविगेबल? तो उन्होंने बोला उस वक्त कि ये भैया यहाँ तो पानी टाइडल वाला पानी है और ये नेविगेबल ज्यादा नहीं है. उस वक्त की बात है. They said only small crafts can go into it. अच्छा, तीसरी जो सबसे बड़ी चीज थी उसमें ये भी लिखा गया है, ये जो चीज है ये इंटर टाइटल तो है ही है, ये एरिया ऐसा है जो बिल्कुल फ्लैट है. क्योंकि ये टेरेन फ्लैट है, ये क्रीक हर वक्त अपना जो बहाव है और अपना जो डायरेक्शन है चेंज करती रहती है. तो मतलब अगर क्रीक आज यहाँ है तो कल क्रीक मे बी अराउंड 300-400 मीटर ईस्ट चली जाए, मे बी 10 साल के बाद ये वेस्ट चली जाए। तो इसके बैंक जो है शिफ्ट करते रहते हैं। सो नाउ इट इज अ फ्लोटिंग बाउंड्री जो उस वक्त बनाया गया है, and you have not taken into consideration the water that is going inside. So that itself, what was the ethics of it and what was not agreed to it itself can be said in a some way slightly questionable. That was the background. Anyway, since that area at that time had no relevance at all, and it was thought that okay, fine, leave the matter as it is, nobody questioned it. It is only later now, after the 1965 arbitration जो हुआ between India and Pakistan, and in 1968 after that ruling came, so suddenly decided okay, let's go beyond that now. So when we started going beyond that, there was pillars that were missing जो उस वक्त demarcate हो रखे थे. How to go about through the circuit, that was a problem. So the historical legacy of the problem, the Pandora's box only opened up later. It was not at that time. So it is only the importance now and the importance of having a properly demarcated boundary. If you have a problem in the north of India, you have an undemarcated boundary. It is the same thing in the south. So the issue that came up is this again continues to be a different boundary which is still not demarcated, which we need to ensure and sit down with our counterparts on the other side and find out a way ahead. So this, if you see, is the background of circuit. Now, he mentioned about the top of the circuit. Top मतलब north. दूसरा जो बहुत मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट इशू है वो है माउथ ऑफ द सर्करी. माउथ ऑफ द सर्करी कहाँ का है? जहां सर्करी अरेबियन सी में मिलता है, वो है माउथ ऑफ द सर्करी. अच्छा, अगर आप वहां की उस वक्त जो 1914 में जो मैप इन्होंने लगाया गया था, अगर आप देखें, सर्करी थोड़ी चौड़ी थी, उसके साइड में लखपत क्रीक थी और उसी के साइड में नीचे पीर सिनाई क्रीक थी. ये तीन क्रीक एक बहुत ही एडजेसेंट एरियाज में, दे आर कंटिगुअस, ऑल थ्री आर कंटिगुअस. जो उस वक्त के मैप थे और आज के मैप है, पूरा का पूरा वहां का ढांचा ही चेंज हो गया. आज पीर सिनाई क्रीक कम से कम उसका जो माउथ है 3 गुना सर्क्रीक से ज्यादा है, 3 या 4. सो यू कैन सी हाउ रिवराइन दैट एरिया इज. इट्स अ डेल्टाइक एरिया. जिस तरह बांग्लादेश और वेस्ट बंगाल डेल्टाइक एरिया है, the same way this Indus is also a deltaic area with flat lands and topography changing very, very often. So now, if somebody had said at that time कि जो उन्होंने आर्टिकल 10 बोला था कि ये रिवराइन जो क्रीक है ये नेविगेबल है या नहीं, वो तो अलग बात है, लेकिन ये हर वक्त चेंज करती रहती है. अगर डायरेक्शन चेंज करती रहती तो आगे क्या? दिस वाज अ थॉट. और उस वक्त उन्होंने ये भी बोला है, एक प्रिंसिपल होता है थालवे प्रिंसिपल, जिसमें उस जगह जहां नेविगेशन हो सकता है, ईच कंट्री शुड हैव द राइट ऑफ हैविंग देयर शिप्स और देयर क्राफ्ट्स और देयर बोट्स गोइंग थ्रू द नेविगेबल चैनल एज मच एज पॉसिबल. सो बोथ ऑफ देम हैव द राइट टू गो अप एंड डाउन. That was what the commissioner of Sindh had said, that we should have this part also seen, because if navigation is there, it's available to both the countries. अब आप शटल अरब देख लीजिएगा. शटल अरब में ईरान एंड इराक both had the right to enter, right to Basra this side and Abad on that side. So this is not only one country. There are enough numerable examples where though the countries may be at war, but both the ships were entering. This is a very historical part which needs to be taken into consideration before we move forward. Over to you, Aadi.
Captain sir, would you want to add anything to this? What sir has said?
He is absolutely right. What he says about the navigation part of it. Now, when we're talking of the navigation part, somebody might say 3.5 meters, 5 meters is not navigable for deep draft vessels. Fine, good enough. But there are examples world over where you take the Danube River for that matter. I think that flows across Germany, Austria, Slovakia, Hungary, Croatia, and through the entire East and the West Europe. There, the inland, what you call the shallow water drafts, shallow draft vessels are navigating for that matter. It could be for cruise, it could be for transportation of goods. You come to Russia's side, so many rivers coming into the Baltic Sea. There are rivers inside. There are 3 meter, 3.5 meter draft vessels which can navigate. Then the range of tide is phenomenal in Sir Creek. I did the survey way back in mid 80s. Like, not me, I was part of the ship which was doing the survey. If I remember, Adhir, correct me, the range of tide is good 5 to 6 meters over there in Sir Creek.
Yeah, it's
So-
around 3 meters or 3 odd meters. Yeah, it's quite
Yeah.
substantial. It is quite substantial.
It's quite substantial for that matter. So, with that range of tide, it doesn't matter the low water, the high water, like what we say is navigable in seasons or with the tide. So, even if you take a depth of 1 or 2 meters somewhere, you still 5 meters of water is available when the vessels can navigate. और creek जो है 80-90 किलोमीटर का है, like your Hooghly River, the tide will keep coming and you time the your departure or arrival in such a way you can navigate. Well, there may not be any port at the moment today, but as the area develops, it could be later on. Now, I will add to what Adhir said. Adhir, like 2007, I led the service long before that. Mid-80s, I'm saying that I'm saying it on record that we went and delineated their low water line here across the Sir Creek. Later on, the joint survey was done. So we have all the records with us. It is for them to agree to those records or not. And talking about the when we say about the mouth of the river, as Adhir mentioned, see what happens when you're drawing your territorial waters. And I'm very sure all your viewers are conversant with this particular terms like territorial waters. When the mouth of the river is extending, like it depends how much it has extended. I won't go into much of the details of the definition of the base or the mouth of the river, but the thing is that when the mouth opens up, the two extremes for that matter, be it the river or the mouth, or by the definition of the bay, you connect the straight line and you gain that much of extra territorial waters. And once you gain the territorial waters, your ease, because the base, that has become the baseline now. अगर आपका baseline straight line हो गया, instead of going in the indentation like this, if you have that baseline, आपका ease that इतना increase कर गया, आपका continental shelf increase कर गया है, वो सब increase होने के बाद आपका जितना भी resources that they belong to you. And can you share that particular Adi, that particular slide which I sent to you?
Coming online, sir.
Yeah. Now, if you look at it, the red line, as Admiral Arora also explained, if we take what we want, the line dividing between Pakistan and India is the line which we want. And if the green line, how much of area we lose? So when Pakistan says they want that old settlement or whatever resolution they are talking about, that is not applicable in today's. The green line is not applicable. And many professional papers had been written by some Pakistani authors. They are not speaking the truth. They have not defined, for that matter, what the treaty means, what convention means, what rule means. Convention, when we talk about convention, both of us are signatory to that convention, UNCLOS, and we have ratified. Once we ratify, it becomes a law within our own country. They can keep asking for the moon. That doesn't mean that they have the exclusive right over it. They should be justified in what they're claiming, first of all. Adhir, I will hand it over to you. Like, if you want to add anything on the legal aspect of it, like what I'm saying.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, if you what Captain Khandari just mentioned is quite clear that earlier this was what the perception was. Today, after 2007, India and Pakistan, it's an open, it's a common knowledge, it's absolutely no more domain. India and Pakistan undertook a joint survey of the Sir Creek. That means from the mouth of the Sir Creek, extending at least around maybe around 4 or 5 miles outside, to right up to where the blue dotted line meets, where the boundary is, right up to the north. When we did this survey, the depths at places of more than 10 meters were found. More than 10 meters. This is not including the tide of 3 meters. That means a ship at a high water can go to some distance inside, which is of 12 to 13 meters.
Wow.
Right on top of the Sir Creek, that is top absolute north, there were depths of around 6 meters. That means a ship around 7 to 8 meters can easily navigate up to that place. If that be the condition, are we still saying that Sir Creek is not navigable? And what happens to the Thalweg principle? If the Sir Creek is navigable today, then obviously both are signatory to one clause. And there is a document, rather not a document, which is a book called Talos. That is the technical aspects of the law of the sea. In case you have a technical issue, go back to that. And Thalweg principle is very, very clearly written. In case of an issue, you can sit down and sort it out as per Thalweg principle, giving equal rights of navigation to both the countries, so both the countries can reap the benefits of it. So that takes care from mouth of the Sir Creek to the north of the Sir Creek. Now, what Captain Khandari mentioned, from the mouth of the Sir Creek, why is it so important to demarcate the mouth of the Sir Creek? Because from the mouth of the Sir Creek will flow your land terminal point or your land boundary terminus. That is the center point from where your international maritime boundary line in the EZ of India and Pakistan will be demarcated. If you cannot come to a consensus on that, how do you proceed? So that is one big issue, because today the mouth of the Sir Creek closes where it is supposed to close, right in the north, that is in the east-west direction. A mouth of Sir Creek obviously will close on the east-west direction. It cannot close from the northwest to the southeast direction. It cannot go in that direction. It has to close. Even if you see today, what is Sir Creek mouth? Today, Sir Creek mouth, if you see the terrain, it's just around some, not very wide, around 2 miles or something. So it closes there. So the catch is we need to find the land terminus point, rather the land boundary terminus for both the countries to start with. So your first problem is acceptance of the Sir Creek navigability. The second is where the mouth of the Sir Creek is. And only then you can think about proceeding ahead. But notwithstanding, we will leave it at that. Adi, I'll hand it over to you for the next part.
No, this is something which is very interesting. You basically, what both of you gentlemen have brought out, कि भाई देखो ऐसा है, ये पूरा area is not what has been perceived. जो हमारे formal languages के अंदर लिखा हुआ है वो बिल्कुल नहीं है. And जो पाकिस्तान से भी perception आता है, obviously that is a steal. So where has been the problem, sir? Why haven't been able to sort this out? Pakistan is one thing. Internally, have we had the will to sort it out, और अभी तक वो भी हमारा कहीं ना कहीं ऊपर नीचे था? Why am I asking this? Captain Saab, you mentioned the 65 arbitration, and you mentioned all that, and you know you've spoken about all this stuff. When we were talking offline, also you were telling me about this. There have been multiple opportunities to sort this out. Why hasn't it happened till now? What is the political interference? What is the कुछ local aspects हैं? क्या है sir? What is the issue?
Yeah, Adi, it's nothing. It's nothing. Basically, if you ask me, like Admiral Arora has said, I am saying that legally we are correct. Now, it is between Pakistan and us to finally, like, Pakistan is not agreeing, they're shifting their goalpost. I am saying that in mid-80s, when we did the survey, they didn't even know about it. For 3 months, I was going and touching their what you call low water line for that matter, and we prepared the data and we presented it to them. later on the joint survey, but they'll keep shifting the goalpost. Now, why they are doing it, apart from having the resources at sea, you see, like if they, as Admiral Arora also said, if the over a period of time when it closes the mouth, the landward part of it. Now, if you've been to that area, like Admiral Arora will be able to appreciate because he had been to that area, the inward part of it, when you come bit hinterland and the sub branches of the creek which go inward, they give you a very high scope of infiltration and for smuggling. And Pakistan, their only thing is that how to create problem for us through infiltration and other aspects of proxy war. You can, if you really ask me, if you ask any submariner, those creeks are deep enough for that matter, the one which branch out hinterland, that one can easily hide a midget submarine or a considerable size of craft which can carry special forces here. And it's a marshy land for good inside 2 or 3 kilometers, nothing is there. But having said that, when we refer to the marshy land, who says we cannot develop that area? For example, the Kori Creek area has been developed into a tourist resort now. And the Sir Creek part of it now, there is one, two very, another what you call important points over there. One is the Harami Nala, and other is, if I remember correctly, they call it Bondo Doro, something like that in Gujarati. Bondo something like means dammed, and Doro means a river or a creek kind of a thing. Now, Harami Nala, Adir, correct me if I'm wrong, what I remember is in the approximately 30 to 40 kilometers east of the Sir Creek, if I remember correctly. Right.
That's right, sir. That's right. It's somewhere that's.
Yeah. So, and that also flows into the main sea and it forms a part of the marshy delta. Then, by the fact that it's named Harami Nala, because it is known for notorious activities here. All the smuggling and infiltrations, they do take place from there. And Bondo Doro, if I recollect correctly, it is south of the Sir Creek. It is south of the Sir Creek. So all these places are important, and Pakistan is eyeing it from the point of view of economic resources, which I doubt very much they have the capacity or capability to do anything. But they are more interested into the gaining the territory somehow for their convenience to cause infiltration, like in both security and economic reasons they want it.
The economic part is okay, fine. I mean, Pakistan economics.
I don't know. They can.
ठीक है, मैं it doesn't go in the same sentence, sir. होता नहीं है. It is basically a point that they can pick us on.
Yeah.
Now, I keeping the historical aspect a little more, Admiral sir, I wonder if you would like to comment on something probably a little controversial, but at one point of time, India wanted to put white flags in 2 areas, right? And literally say, भैया ये हम free zone बनाएंगे, अमन की आशा, पता नहीं क्या था, पूरा drama. One was in Siachen and second was in Sir Creek. Forget everything else. What would have been the impact of something like that? And we all know there was one gentleman who's most likely the Prime Minister of the country right now, who basically put his foot down and said, forget it, not happening here. And the army chief put his foot down in Siachen. We know that. That is now open. But sir, what would have been the impact of putting a white flag in Sir Creek? I mean, this is...
Like you just mentioned, we still had that time few good men.
We still have, sir. We still have.
I know. That time I said you had that time. I'm talking that point of time. Okay. Because of few good men, things were kept in check. See, in 2007, when we did the joint survey of Sir Creek, now the data that we have is the data that they also have. It's transparency. It's not that we have a data and they don't have it. It's a joint survey. So the joint survey was done in such a way that is absolutely transparency, including the data processing was done in Atari border by both the teams. So that are you clear? And it was not done on board the ship. On board the ship, you collected the data. Whenever you do a survey, it does not go immediately into the public domain or anything. It has to go through its checks and balances. So to verify the survey, it goes through the checks and balances. The Pakistanis did their quality assurance. We did our quality assurance. We came to Atari border and married the data. It was after it was married, only after that, their data was exchanged. We said, okay, fine, this is our data and this is your data which you've collected. Now we have married it. Both, do we agree to this? And we both agreed to that. So the data that we have is the data that we have. So from the technical point of view, from the professional point of view, from the hydrographer's point of view, drawing a boundary is not very difficult. You may not start the boundary from maybe the inner side, that is the mouth of the circle. Who stops you from starting the boundary from outside? There are zones of convergence. Divergence is always there, but there can be zones of convergence. Who stops us from starting from outside? Pakistan has its base points. We have our base points. So the zones of divergence and the zones of convergence have to marry to ensure that you come to something plausible, something doable. Do you want to do something doable or you don't want to do something doable? And what Captain Khandari mentioned was very clear. You can just rubbish everything and say, okay, we don't agree to it. We don't agree to it. Or we can say, so that is the reason in maybe in the later parts or the early part of 2010, when all this smoke came out about things happening, people had the data with them. You cannot just sign on a dotted line knowing fully well what the data is. Obviously, the data will come out of the closet. And today it is open, it's available. There is a chart already available in the open domain of that area because navigation is there. Ships and boats, Indian boats are plying in there. When you come out with the chart, it just does not mean that where the boundary is, there is no data available on the other side. Or there is no data available on this side. Indian charts cannot have Pakistan data which is not available. Neither can Pakistan charts in the common area have Indian data which is not available. It's a common data. It's navigable. Sea is an open domain. A boat cannot just suddenly stop at a border and say, okay, fine, this is the border, I can't go. I don't know where it is. So these are very important things at sea. Navigation is very important. So that is one of the reasons why we need to know and why need to be very clear. And like you mentioned, that raising the bogey of putting the white flags. Obviously, the country will ask you questions. And the reason of asking questions is very clear. Have we made the considered and the best decision for the country or no? There have been instances where the borders have been demarcated with a give and take. Why that happened is absolutely another discussion. Like why we had the IMBL demarcated the way in Andaman, or why we had the IMBL demarcated the way in Park Bay. Some give and take. Why did it happen? There is much can be spoken about it. Was it right? Was it wrong? We can continue speaking about it. But now that has been demarcated. But what has not been demarcated can still be discussed and questioned, and only then come to a decision. And you are very right. Somebody would have thought about the northern and the southern, borders to be decided immediately. But then, would it have actually not had gone through a proper scrutiny? Somebody would have said yes. Down the line, did people say yes? That's the question.
I will add only one thing over here. Like, let's look at it this way. What Adhir said, data is checked properly, then it is scrutinized. It goes through multi-layer of, I would say, the checks for that matter before the data is published. The person who is signing, finally, he is responsible. and that happens to be the final signature of the chief hydrographer to the government of India. And thereafter, it's I would say, the political decision. Our job is to just to give the data what as it is. I cannot forge the data and sign on it by any means. But having said that, I'll just like to go back to the Pakistani claims for that matter. I'm again repeating on the word resolution they are mentioning. Resolution, fine. Did we sign? India signed that resolution? No. Did Pakistan sign that resolution? No. What arrangement they are talking of is between the Bombay Presidency and the princely state of Rann of Kutch. India got independence. Thereafter, Vienna Convention, that laws of the treaty VLCN we refer to, they started somewhere in 1969 and it was in force in 1980. Did we have any treaty with Pakistan on the Sir Creek part of it? No. UNCLOS came into being, if I'm around the same time, 1982 UNCLOS, if I'm not
82, it got ratified later by us in 94.
94, yes.
Fine. Yeah, that's right. No. We ratified UNCLOS. Pakistan ratified UNCLOS. It has become a law. So whatever the definitions are given, we have to go by that. Now, if Pakistan says that resolution, even if they bring into of 1917 between the princely state within the colonial empire, when we talk of resolution, it is a group of bodies where the resolution is presented, adopted, or accepted, or brought into force. But that was just by the British colonial power. Even if they say so, paragraph 9, whatever the green line they are referring to of the paragraph 9 is the green line. But paragraph 10 very clearly says the later, see, paragraph 9, paragraph 10, it clearly says the navigable channel. The navigable channel is available. So that has to be shared by both the countries. And that's what the modern, the later UNCLOS also says the same thing.
There is, okay, I mean, I understood that. Now, how do we pitch this case forward, sir, to kind of put an end to this damn thing? Because, like, for example, there is a clear policy for the POJK region, right?
Yeah.
There's a clear policy for these things. Ki boss ye hai. Iske bare mein nobody talks about it. So, in the last segment, sir, may I, Admiral sir, why don't you tell us what should we?
Okay. The last discussions that India had with Pakistan was, I think, in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Sir Creek, specifically on Sir Creek. So it was once again, we revisited the points of convergence, we revisited the points of divergence, and we, I believe, amicably parted. So from 2012 onwards, there has been no talks with Pakistan for reasons obvious. And this is where it stands. Now, if the thaw has to be there, it has to be a decision which has to be taken by not the hydrographers, not the Navy, but even beyond. It is by the government of India. When and how it takes place, the hydrographers are ready. We can tell technically, okay, if we can resolve this issue. So resolving the issue is not a major problem, because the way the hydrographers are trained, we have got our books with us. What he does and what I do is the absolute same. That is the beauty of hydrographers across the world. You can get a hydrographer today from Chile, or you can get a hydrographer from Japan. His standards and our standards are absolutely same. So technically, we speak the same language seamlessly across the world, seamlessly, and that is the beauty. So if this is spoken by him, the same thing is spoken by me. Like we had the arbitration with Bangladesh. When arbitration in Bangladesh was there, it is the hydrographer's point of view that was taken very, very forcefully. Fine, the law part was there, but on ground, what the situation was. So in case we again need to sit down, it is the hydrographers who will come to a consensus, and from there it will build up. Because it is mathematical. The solution starts mathematically. And hydrographers know it is a mathematical solution. And after that, it is whichever way it is. So you can work out what is your give, what is your take, and you can come to a conclusion. And it's a low hanging fruit. It's absolutely a low hanging fruit. And I'm sure when the talks were there even before 2012, even that time, you could have come to a consensus. It's not difficult at all. It's not very, very contentious. Yes, there will be some give and takes if required. Otherwise, we'll stick to what the UNCLOS and the Thalberg principle is, which is very much in the order, which is very much in order. We are not offline at all. Like I said, in the case of Bangladesh, just imagine the Radcliffe line when it was drawn between Khulna and 24 Parganas, the river, Haribanga River, Ichamati River, Jamna River flow. The wording is very clear. It says the midstream of the mid channel. What do you mean by that? The boundary will be the midstream of mid channel. Even today, that channel has both Bangladeshis and Indian fishermen going up and down because it is the midstream of mid channel. So why there is a different thing on the east and why not being accepted in the west? Simple and straightforward. Not difficult at all. That's why I'm saying you got from here, you want to draw your IMBL, why not start from the outside? There will be some convergence. So Adi, your question is absolutely clear. What is holding us? I don't think anything is holding us. Absolutely clarity.
So, Captain sir, to close, what do you think? What's your opinion?
My opinion is what Admiral Arora is saying, like technically, mathematically, we are in a very strong position. Like I would say, if they are developing Kori Creek, government has the intention to extend it further and take it up to Sir Creek site. And once the development sites, they can keep screaming about whatever they want to about the disputed the territories. The territories are ours. But again, as Admiral Arora said, like give and take, again the government of India and Pakistan, I said like what their intentions are. So what happens at the diplomatic level? The people are wise enough now. They know very well. They think quite ahead, and that's all I can say at the moment. But mathematically and geographically, as you're saying, what and technically, as Admiral Arora said, we have our facts very right. You take any example for that matter, the Benin or Niger for that matter, that Anglo-German, Botswana, Namibia, any example you take, it's always the midstream of the navigable channel. It's always that way. But they don't even want that. They want the Indian coast or the Sir Creek to be the boundary. And that is not acceptable.
That I agree with you, sir. There's no question about it. I think one of the biggest things that needs to come out of this entire game is that there has to be sublimity of whatever comes out, and we can't be making mistakes of just being Dayavan Danveers.
Yeah, that is true.
Every inch counts. Every inch counts. Every inch counts. You cannot yield anything.
Every ml, sir.
Oh, yes.
Every milliliter counts. So there's no question about it. Gentlemen, thank you so much, sir, for the time and for this explanation. I think it's critically required for us to understand these little things. I don't know how many. We know there is a dispute, but we don't know what the dispute is and how it's been built up and this and that. There is obviously a lot of chaos that people create on all these areas, especially when we know that there's right now a series of exposures which is coming about 828 kilometers here, there, and everything. So it'll be interesting, and I hope this message goes down to a lot of people and people educate themselves. Thank you for this to the audience. My request is please like, share, and subscribe, and please do share it with people. Let people also know about this. यार पता करो, ये भी हमारा है, ठीक है, बहुत बड़ा है भारत हमारा, and काफी कुछ है. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, Adi. Jai Hind, Namaskar.
Namaskar, Jai Hind.